Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in for this paranormal pit stop. Tonight, we'll be adventuring through an abandoned former live-in facility for both children and adults with disabilities that's located off of Center Avenue in Laurel, Maryland, that was operated under the District of Columbia and that started off as what was considered a state-of-the-art facility, but darkly, by the time of its closure, had earned infamy as one of the deadliest institutions in the United States, rumored to harbor the tortured souls of those whose lives were lost within. Are you prepared to brave the history and hauntings of Forest Haven? Historically, in 1925, Forest Haven was opened as a farm-like institution geared towards work therapies and teaching patients useful life skills. Its impressive campus would span nearly 300 acres, on which 22 separate buildings were held, and over 1,000 patients housed. Early life at Forest Haven was documented as serene, with patients milking cows, tending crops, and living in dorms surrounded by lush vegetation, and their daily routines offered regular education and recreation, including the use of athletic fields, basketball courts, and plentiful green space. Sadly, through the 1960s, the site's funding was harshly cut, resulting in staff reductions and in the added need to accept the deaf, dyslexic, epileptic, and illiterate for increased profits. And in 1974, disturbingly, Forest Haven was granted custody over 20 children preceding the closure of the nearby Junior Village orphanage. In 1976, the concerned family members of patients on site would band together and file a lawsuit, and joined by the Department of Justice in 1978, many formerly held within Forest Haven would be relocated elsewhere to alternate facilities or group homes. Disgustingly, the outdatedly warped Forest Haven would be allowed to remain in business for a time, during which it would literally employ a physician with a suspended medical license, while crossing God knows how many other boundaries. And between 1989 and 1991, just prior to its closure, the DOJ would also begin closely inspecting all local deaths to aspiration pneumonia, which very well could have resulted from improper feeding procedures. Sadly, claims from patients to Forest Haven include accounts of physical, mental, and sexual abuse, and some more notorious cases involved individuals being switched, belted, or even paddled with baseball bats to the point of missing teeth and other chronic dental or skeletal damages. Under building pressure and scrutiny, Forest Haven would officially close its doors on October 14th of 1991 by order of federal judge. While no record was kept as to how many lives were really lost within its halls, as patients were literally tossed into mass graves following their deaths, a large marker was erected in 1987 by families of former patients honoring 389 lives lost, though over the years, additional remains and makeshift grave sites are still being uncovered. In the present, Forest Haven lies abandoned and is a popular attraction for daredevils and urban explorers alike. Though several efforts have been made to revitalize the site, the old structure remains largely untouched, and while it may seem tempting to join the ranks of those who have managed to sneak inside, we'd feel amiss not warning our viewers that doing so is a crime prohibited by law, and the area is heavily monitored by a constant police presence, so make smart choices. Not surprising in the least, the whole of Forest Haven grounds are believed to be haunted by the spirits of those whose lives were lost, wasted, or left permanently altered following their stays, and those who have braved the old expanse have reported extreme cold spots, heavy doors that open and slam shut violently, and objects sighted moving on their own or even floating through mid-air inexplicably. Several informal investigations of the property have yielded high EMF levels, chilling EVPs, encounters with shadowy manifestations, and instances in which cameras or other electronics fail entirely, and many have described feeling as if they're being watched or followed by a presence unseen. A handful of accounts tell of encounters with the full-bodied manifestations of doctors, nurses, and even of patients in wretched states, trapped within Forest Haven to relive their hellish existences into eternity, while others of strange visions of the building's torturous past that seem completely real for moments, before dissipating in the blink of an eye. Also reported across the whole of the property are instances of personal possessions going missing only to turn up later in strange places, disembodied screams, laughter, and cries heard emanating from old rooms, and encounters with ghoulish entities bearing grievous wounds, lesions, bruises, or that appear exceedingly malnourished. Disturbingly, the small spirits of several children have been spied about, sometimes running and playing, and at others, hiding, and begging the living not to reveal their position to staff members most certainly long since deceased. And randomly, the sound of what seems to be hundreds of children's voices crying all at once has been heard, and has even become so overwhelming it's caused several to have to leave the property. Lastly, heavy bootsteps have been picked up walking the halls outside of the rooms. At evening times that would have formerly been considered lights out, the phantom sounds of two men arguing has been heard across the ground floor, and the ghostly voices of old-timey staff members in full chatter has been documented near the long-dormant office areas. Thanks for joining us on this Paranormal Pit Stop. If you enjoyed our histories and ghost stories, subscribe to our channel, like this upload, and share us with anyone you feel could use a good scare. We'll catch you next time.